Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salatu wassalam. Ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Welcome back to the prophetic series, prophetic characteristic series. Last week we spoke about the mercy of the Prophet ﷺ, and we said there will be a 2-week topic. And last week we focused on the theological mercy. And that is the main mercy which the Prophet ﷺ came with. And the evidence for that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Before those verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about theological issues such as the Day of Judgment, such as the prophets. And right after the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ إِنَّمَا يُوحَى إِلَيَّ أَنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Say, it has been inspired or revealed to me that your Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your God, is one God, meaning we only worship Him, so will you not then submit? So you can see how this verse about claiming that the Prophet ﷺ is was sent with mercy and as a source of mercy, it's sandwiched between theological issues, kind of alluding to the fact that theology is the main mercy which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Prophet ﷺ with. And we explored that a little bit last week. Now, as we all know, a major part of the Prophet ﷺ's mercy was social mercy, his engagement with other people. And to kind of put ourselves in the shoes of the Prophet ﷺ, in order to really understand his mercy, we need to put ourselves in his shoes. And the way I'd like to do that is to remind ourselves of a hadith and then give an analogy to kind of elaborate that hadith and help us really experience it. And that hadith is the very well-known one where the Prophet ﷺ describes himself, gives us an analogy. So he is like someone who is next to a campfire. The insects and these creatures are attracted to the fire. They're trying to go towards it. And we know what will happen if it gets too close. It's going to die, right? And the Prophet ﷺ is there trying to divert those creatures from going to the fire. Those creatures don't realize that that fire is harmful to them. They are attracted to it, but they don't realize it's harmful to them. But the Prophet ﷺ does know its harm, and he's trying his best to divert all the creatures from entering the fire. But he says also that I can only do so much. Some of you get by me, right? And this fire is, you can say it's an analogy for our desires, our haram desires especially. And we know in a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ teaches us that there was a conversation between Jibreel and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created paradise, He told Jibreel, go look at it. And Jibreel went and looked at it. And he came back and he said, who wouldn't make it to paradise? It's so beautiful. And then He created the hellfire and He told Jibreel, go look at the hellfire. He said, no one would ever enter this place. And then He said, okay, now go again and look. But this time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surrounded paradise with that which we dislike. Praying 5 times a day. Right? At least in the beginning, right? Getting yourself in the habits. When you tell someone our religion is about praying 5 times a day, it's not really attractive, right? You have to fast Ramadan, these hours without food or water. It's not attractive. You have to give 2.5% of your charity if you have a certain amount of savings. That's not attractive. You have to do Hajj. That's not attractive. So paradise has been surrounded with things that we initially, I put that there as a kind of this caveat, initially we see as unattractive. Whereas hellfire is surrounded by what? That which we find attractive. Don't, drink. Don't drink alcohol. Well, alcohol is a culture, especially in ours, even throughout history. Alcohol was a major part of society. It's a major social engagement. The opposite gender. We're very restricted when it comes to the opposite gender, but the opposite gender is something we are attracted to. Don't do this, don't do that. And especially for the youth living, and those who are born and raised here in America, we can feel this very easily. Society is just surrounded, it's immersed in that which is haram. And then we feel like the religion is just here to make things haram and hard for us, when that really isn't the case. So the Prophet ﷺ here is telling us that he's sitting next to this campfire. The campfire are our desires. But the fire really is the hellfire. And He's trying to get us away from it. And He's doing His best and shows us His concern. And to kind of just go deeper in this meaning, I give you kind of an analogy to understand this analogy. Right? To understand his motivation. That even we harness the same type of mercy, although we might not feel it, or might not act upon it. And the example is as follows. It's a very simple example, and we will all answer the same way. If you see a person walking, and they're about to fall off a cliff, and they don't realize there's a cliff there, what are you going to do in that situation? Sit and watch? Of course he's joking, right? Right? No, what are you going to do? I mean, interact. You'd pull them back, right? You would, any human being, right? And don't say, there might be that one person who doesn't. Those are exceptions, then we don't really, a rule isn't broken because of one or two exceptions. Any one of us would put their utmost energy and effort to try and stop that person from falling off. Right? We would do everything in our power. We would run as fast as we can. We will scream as loud as we can. Our emotions will just absolutely launch. It will explode in order to try and save this person. Right? We have this mercy that the Prophet ﷺ had. We have it in our hearts. Even if that person who's about to fall off a cliff is someone we don't like. Even if they are an enemy. Right? Okay, I won't give that example. You know who I'm talking about, right? I won't give that example. But even then, I guarantee you most people, even if it's a vile, wicked person, we cannot just let that go, even if we don't like that person. So you see here what the Prophet ﷺ is living by, what he's doing and acting upon. We have that in us, but we don't act upon it. And sometimes we really just don't realize it. So it's about realizing the mercy that we inherently have. This is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to every human being. It's not just a Muslim. We all have it. But very few people actually act upon it. And when we act upon it, well, we're human beings, we have limited amounts of energy, right? We have a limited amount of stress and emotions that we can bear. The Prophet ﷺ, being the Prophet ﷺ, was aided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly, and he had more ability. So when we talk about certain social emotions, keep in mind that this isn't something that is out of our reach. We have it in our hearts. It's just about realizing this and acting upon it. So when we look at the theological, to kind of tie this back to the previous talk, when we talk about the theological mercy which the Prophet ﷺ was sent with, well, we should have that same mercy towards all of mankind. When our lives are centered around the next life, when our lives are our main concern is the next life, we will change the perspective which we view the world from. And it will become, is this person on the path to paradise? Or are they on the path to hellfire? If we are concerned with the well-being of an individual who's about to fall off a cliff, not knowing that they're falling off a cliff, if we are going to put our utmost effort to protect that person, well, should we not do the same when it comes to heaven and hell? If I have the ability to help someone follow the straight path, or to take them off the path to hellfire, would I not then do that? Well, by default, yes. We should. And this was the perspective of the Prophet ﷺ. This is why he endured what he endured. And he did what he did. And we will go through some examples of his social interaction. When, if it would be us, we would say, man, sometimes someone does something bad, the first thing we do is we start cursing them. And we make dua against them sometimes. And this is very unfortunate. Sometimes parents make dua against their children, going against the command of the Prophet ﷺ. When he told us, do not make dua against your children. It might be that you make a dua in a time where dua is accepted, and that will cause major consequences. And perhaps, I noticed in Jordan, and I was there, perhaps you've noticed in your native countries, that sometimes very strange accidents happen to young people. It almost seems more common for a younger individual to pass away in those areas than here. Although I don't think those statistics are true. But sometimes strange things happen. And we have to ask the question, how much of that has to do with a parent becoming upset and saying, may Allah curse you? Or may Allah yukhdak, as they say in Arabic. May Allah take you. May He get rid of you, etc. That's very serious, right? Where is the mercy? Where was I going with this? Right? Going back to the social, how the Prophet ﷺ engaged the theological mercy. This is the perception. And this is what we need to live by. If our main concern is the next life, then we will view the world from that lens. We should be concerned with our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow Muslims, who are not praying 5 times a day. We should be concerned. Why? Because they're not on the right path. We should be concerned with our fellow brother or sister who is engaging in major sins, because that is quite dangerous. Even if our concern manifests itself with making dua for them. Sometimes we don't have, a person might not have the most charismatic, personality. Or sometimes they might not have the courage to go and talk to someone else. Sometimes they simply just don't know what to say. Or they don't have the experience or the training or the knowledge to do so. Well, we can always make dua for them. And we know of the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us in a hadith that whoever makes dua for their brother or sister, then there's an angel there designated to say Ameen to that dua, and for you the same. This is the concern, the mercy that we need to have. And this is the mercy which the Prophet ﷺ built between the Muslims. And how was that built? It was built, by this concept of tying hearts, ta'lif al-qulub, bonding hearts. But how was the Prophet ﷺ so successful in bonding the hearts of a civilization that was so divided? By divisions that are very, very well ingrained in society. Tribalism is not an easy thing to deal with. And just for us who don't know much about tribalism, think of racism. Racism is not a simple issue to deal with, because a lot of racism and tribalism is almost theologically based. My tribe is my tribe. I will protect my tribe even if my tribesman is wrong and the other tribesman is right. I mean, we see this in the prophetic tradition. And one guy comes, Amr ibn As, I believe, is the one who goes to him and says, why are you following this Musaylim al-Kadhab, who's claiming to be a prophet? Do you not see the absolute absurdity of what he's saying and this quote-unquote Quran that he has come with? Right? The guy said, a liar from Rabi'ah is better than an honest person from, I think, Quraysh or whatever the tribe he mentioned. This is tribalism. This is very hard to deal with, if not impossible. And the evidence for that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ لَوْ أَنفَقْتَ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مَا أَلَّفْتَ بَيْنَهُمْ مَا أَلَّفْتَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ أَلَّفَ بَيْنَهُمْ. This is a very powerful statement in the Quran. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He is the one who tied or bonded the hearts of the companions. If you were to spend every penny that you find on earth, everything that has some value, if you were to spend that in an attempt to bond the hearts of these people, you would not be successful. Rather, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who bonded that. And how did He do that? Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is through this concept that I am a Muslim. I identify myself as what? As a Muslim. Now, we have these nice songs. I remember in Saturday school, Sunday school, they used to teach us, I'm a Muslim and I don't eat ham. What is the song? Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. I am a Muslim and I don't eat ham. Right? And sometimes they take, American national songs and they give an Islamic twist. Right? It's quite interesting. But they never taught us what that means. Okay, I am a Muslim. I also identify as an Arab. I also identify as an American. Well, what's different between these things? Islam, by identifying ourselves as a Muslim, yes, there's a theological bond. But that's not the key. The key is, where does that theology center? Where does it find its center? Come on. Our theology is centered around what? Around who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I identify myself as a Muslim, what does that mean? Someone who submits to who? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we identify ourselves as Muslim, It is not saying we are part of a category of people initially. What it's saying is that we ascribe to a deity, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the universe. That is my identity. My identity is ingrained, or rather is founded on who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And then it manifests itself in several ways. When I say I am a Muslim, I submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It implies that what pleases Allah is what I'll act upon. I act upon what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I act upon what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells me to do. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala love? He loves His creation. He loves Muslims. He loves someone who prays 5 times a day. He loves someone who repents. Right? At-Ta'ib Habibullah. The one who repents is the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He loves those who purify themselves spiritually and physically as well with wudu. He loves those who seek knowledge, Islamic knowledge. These are who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Now, if I claim to be a Muslim, and I claim that I submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I submit to what He loves, I love what He loves, then will I not love someone else who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, who calls themselves a Muslim? Do you see how that works? This is how the companions were able to unite, despite the major divisions that their society had over centuries. And they are deep divisions. Why? Because it transformed the way they view the world around them. When I believe I am a Muslim, and I was sent with the message, or I bear the message of our Prophet ﷺ, a critical part of that is the mercy. Right? Where do I get that mercy? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the merciful. Irhamu man fil ardi yarhamukum man fis sama. Right? Have mercy on those who are on the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one above the heavens, will have mercy on you. When I can transform the way I view the world, the way I view other people, that is when I am concerned for them. When my view is that so-and-so is a Muslim, and because they are a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves them, even if they're not the best Muslim. Anyone who believes in La ilaha illallah has part of that wilaya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the wali, He's the protector of those who believe. So anyone who believes, Allah is their protector. When I view the fellow Muslim like that, and I start to think that if I do something wrong to that person, if I harm them with my words or with my physical actions, that I am harming someone who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects, is that not problematic? The way we say it today, you mess with me, you mess with him, you mess with me. And that's exactly what the Prophet ﷺ teaches us in a hadith Qudsi. Man آذى لي وليا فقد آذنته من آذى لي وليا فقد بارزته في الحرب أو فقد آذنته في الحرب. Whoever harms my wali, my friend, then I have declared war against them. Imagine that. And in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ teaches us someone might say a word. They think nothing of it. They don't think twice about that word. And that will cause them to fall in hellfire. Why? Because it harmed someone who is a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we don't even realize that. That's the scary part. We're not wearing hats, or we don't have labels on us or badges or lanyards that say I am a friend of, this person is a friend of Allah or not a friend of Allah. So when I view my fellow Muslim, anyone who believes who believes in Islam, that they are a friend or protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, well, I better think twice before messing with them. Now, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that person, right, will I not then be kind to them, merciful towards them? Not because of that person initially, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that. Transform the way we view one another. Now imagine, this person is someone who prays 5 times a day, and someone who does a lot of good work. They're closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I got to think not just twice, 100 times before I do anything to even remotely bother that person. Because they are someone who has protected a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to live the mercy of the Prophet ﷺ, in order to act upon it, we need to transform the way we look at the world. And I mentioned two ways, right? Now, another way we can approach this concept of mercy is that mercy, as I mentioned, is theological, but also the way we apply mercy is theological. Meaning, mercy is important in our faith, not just because it's a praiseworthy attribute of a human being, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. Meaning, as the scholars have put this principle, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a certain name or attribute, it is praiseworthy for that individual, for the Muslim, to apply it in their lives, with the exception of a few names which are unique to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such as Al-Mutakabbir, Al-Kabir, Al-Muta'al, that which isn't befitting for human beings. But other than that, mercy, wisdom, knowledge, compassion, kindness, giving, generosity, these are all attributes we can live by. And since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names Himself with these names, these are attributes, these are qualities of perfection. And therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with the ability to apply these things, to live by them, and also He has made them dear to us. These characteristics are praiseworthy to us. And this is one of the interpretations of the hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala khalaqa Adam ala suratih. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam in His image. This is actually also a biblical concept. It's in a hadith. The scholars differed greatly what that means, and in one narration, ala surat al-Rahman. But one of the interpretations of that is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, He created us with His names and attributes ingrained in us. Now, I gotta kind of unpack this a little bit so people don't misunderstand. What I mean by that is, the attributes which I mentioned. These are praiseworthy attributes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and created us with a fitrah that seeks these attributes and praises these attributes. So because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the All-Merciful, He created in His creation mercy, because that is a beautiful name. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most knowledgeable. He created in human beings knowledge. Allah is the most wise. He created in human beings wisdom. Allah is the most generous. He created in human beings generosity. And our love for it, we really appreciate these attributes. So when we look at mercy, it's also a theological thing, that this is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an attribute Allah has chosen for Himself that is part of His perfection. In order for me to elevate who I am, to elevate my personality, my status among people, of course, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to elevate my status in the next life, this is an attribute I need to apply. Also, to kind of keep going with this, one of the wisdoms why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation is what? To have mercy on them. Why did Allah create us? He says in the Quran, to have mercy on us. Now there are more elements here. Not everyone gets this. At least not in the next life. In this life we all get it, in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides us and takes care of us and etc. So Allah created us to have mercy. It's part of our purpose. And therefore when we have mercy on others, it's almost as if we are fulfilling our purpose on earth. And since the purpose of the Prophet ﷺ, of all prophets, and religion and the Quran, is to be a source of mercy to all of mankind, when we live by this, when we live by the character of the Prophet ﷺ, when we live by the Quran, right? Now this is a theological issue. We are applying something that is part of our purpose, ingrained in our purpose. So when we look at these attributes, especially mercy, it is part of who we are from a theological level. Okay? And why this is important to understand is that, here in the West, these types of characteristics are praiseworthy, right? They are praiseworthy. Generosity is praiseworthy. Mercy is praiseworthy. However, what a Muslim can do is enhance the meaning of mercy by giving it a much more well-defined vision. Also, the results of that mercy is far greater than any mercy that someone from a non-theological perspective can bring. Right? So, going back to the very first example, the parable that I gave or the person who's about to fall off the cliff. If you go and save that person, yes, you have done them a great favor, but you only save their physical body. If in the end they end up in hellfire, then what they gained is very minute. But from a Muslim's perspective, if we can live by the theological mercy our religion has to offer, then we will get that person, help that person get to paradise, which is the ultimate mercy. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it. He calls paradise His mercy, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in order to really elevate and to live by the Prophet ﷺ, the prophetic mercy, we need to transform the way we understand mercy. And that starts by transforming the way we view the world and making it a theological understanding. This is where the essence of Islamic mercy, prophetic mercy, comes from. It is theological, first and foremost. Now, the rest of the session, I just want to go over some examples that are important, probably already known by you. However, it's a good reminder for us, and perhaps we need to engage in this a little bit more in our daily lives. And this is in no particular order, just to kind of put that out there. So, one hadith I'd like to mention is about forgiving others and letting go of grudges. This is very important. Now, in an incident, the Prophet ﷺ was walking with Aisha radiallahu anha in the streets of Medina, and they passed by a Jewish individual or a group of Jews, and one of them said, "Assam alayk, Abul Qasim." Assam alayk, Abul Qasim. Right? Now it sounds similar to Assalamu alaykum or Assalamu alayk. What does Assam mean? There are two opinions. One is that Assam is illness. May illness be upon you, Abu Qasim. That was his kunya, his nickname. And the other opinion is that death. May death be upon you. So Aisha radiallahu anha came to the defense of the Prophet sallallahu. So she said, "Bal alayka as-sam wal la'na." So no, may that be upon you and the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you as well. So the Prophet sallallahu told Aisha, "Ya Aisha, urfuqi." Oh Aisha, be soft. Be compassionate. Right? She said, "Ya Rasulullah, did you not hear what they said?" He said, "Yes." And I responded, "Wa alaykum." And I responded, "On you too." He didn't add that first part. Right? He didn't add that first part. Why? To soften the situation. To soften the tone. We as Muslims are not sent. Our purpose is not to create problems. It is not to create division. It is not to curse people out. Our mission as Muslims is to bring mercy and to bring solutions. Right? Now, if our goal in life, if we view Islam as being a political entity or being a social entity and that's it, it doesn't go beyond that. If we don't view Islam from a theological perspective, well, when it comes to the Game of Thrones, right? I don't mean the show, I mean the actual Game of Thrones, the game of politics, right? Yeah, that's a harsh game. That is a very harsh game. There's betrayal that has to occur. There's backstabbing that has to occur. There's aggression that has to occur in order to get on that throne and to stay on it. That's not our goal. Our goal is to tell people this is paradise and this is the path to it. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and this is your happiness. That is our goal. Now, understanding this, right? Understanding this, when the Prophet ﷺ said, "Wa alaykum," he came from what perspective? Did he come from the perspective that I am the leader of my tribe? And in order to maintain the image of strength, right? In order to maintain my political image, I need to say wa alayka salam and I need to create a big problem. Or was he coming from the perspective, I was sent as a source of mercy to these people, and therefore I will soften my tone? Obviously, we know what the answer is, the second one, right? So although we are living in times where Islamophobia is on the rise, white supremacy, right? People attacking places of worship. And we have an administration who for 2 years or 3 years used Muslims as a pawn and as a toy to, for his own agenda, right? That's bad. And that needs to be addressed. However, how do we address that? Do we go and start cursing him and draw pictures, right, of him in inappropriate ways and whatnot, and say Trump is this? I just said it, right? saying this and that, right? Or do we approach it in a more sophisticated, more merciful way? Because the eyes of the world are on us, and they're going to see how we react. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa alayhi salam to go to Fir'aun, this is one of the problems of the Muslims today. They want to take anyone who they don't like and they make him worse than Fir'aun. Sisi is a terrible person, but he's nothing in comparison to Fir'aun. Why? Because Fir'aun was dealing with a prophet. Where are the prophets today? There are no prophets. There aren't people. You barely find someone who's actually acting upon the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Sisi is not refuting prophets. He's not refuting Musa ﷺ. Right? Again, he's an evil person. He's a terrible person. But we need to be just in the way we classify people. Fir'aun was terrible. It was the worst. Because he went after Musa ﷺ, a prophet. He saw miracles. And he was dealing with a completely oppressed society who had the book. Right? And yes, Egypt is unfortunately now an oppressed society. But what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell Musa ﷺ? اذهبا إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقولا له قولا لينا لعله يتذكر أو يخشى. Right? Go to Fir'aun, he has transgressed. So Allah acknowledges the transgression. And he then tells Musa and Harun, والسلام, tell him a soft word, a kind word. Perhaps that he will remember, it will hit his heart, and he will change, or it will create some sort of emotional response where he will tone it down a little bit and, in best case scenario, become a Muslim. This is the tone we have. Now, does that mean we go to any person and speak with them lightly? That's not what it means, right? Certain people require harshness. But the purpose is, for Fir'aun, the best way to reach his heart was through softness. Why? Because kings and rulers do not tolerate competition. They are in a position where no one questions what they do. And therefore, if you come to them in that manner, with that rhetoric, to them, it's like you're waging war against them. But if you come in a wise, softer way, they don't see it as a challenge to who they are as a king, right? So, but for some people, you need that sternness, that harshness, like Umar radiallahu anh. When Umar went to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ grabbed him and said, what do you want? Right? Why? Because that is the personality of Umar. That's how it's going to reach his heart. But the goal of either scenario of Fir'aun or scenario of Umar, was what? The same. To get them to the path of mercy, the path of guidance. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ, when he responded this way, there is this element of mercy that is ingrained in theology. Another example of how we need to really bring mercy on the same topic of the enemy. Right? Yes, Muslims have enemies. We have enemies. There's nothing, to hide there. We have enemies. When you look at the enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, especially towards the end, when a lot of these big names, these big enemies, started accepting Islam, how did the Prophet ﷺ deal with them? Right? When these people who persecuted the Muslims, who attacked them, waged war against them for 20 plus years, are now coming and saying, you know what, I want to be a Muslim now. After all you did, you want to be a Muslim? What was the Prophet ﷺ? How did he deal with that? Not just he just extended his hand. He didn't even say anything. He didn't say there are conditions. You got to go apologize. Even something like an apology, which we would consider to be acceptable, right? When someone like Ikrimah radiallahu anh, and Amr ibn al-As, and Khalid ibn Walid came to accept Islam, they were actually filled with joy. These same people who you saw cut the heads of your friends in the Battle of Uhud, who created that demoralizing situation for you in Uhud. These people who supported, what's his name? The one who was abusing, torturing Bilal. What's his name? Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Right? After all of that, now they are happy that they became Muslim. How did they so easily put aside that anger and that frustration, those wounds, and replace it with happiness that these people became Muslim? Where is that mercy coming from? Well, it goes back to the theology I was speaking about. If we see ourselves as our goal, our purpose is for people to come closer to Islam, even if it was an enemy who's now coming closer to Islam, that should bring us joy, because that is the way we define ourselves. And that is what ultimately pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy, He is pleased when someone becomes a Muslim and enters paradise. He is not pleased when someone rejects and goes to hellfire. So although these people, caused wounds, it was easy for them to get over it because that is the purpose, that is the perspective. So when we deal with our enemies, always have this in mind. Also another example, and I love this hadith so much. The Prophet ﷺ says, من أفضل الأعمال إدخال السرور على المؤمن تقضي له دينا تقضي له حاجة تنفس له كربة. Among the best actions is bringing joy to the heart of a believer. Bringing a smile to their face is among the best actions. And then the Prophet ﷺ gives us examples of that. Taking care of one of their debts, paying off a loan for them, helping them with a situation, being by their side, giving them moral or emotional support. They have something they need to deal with, helping them out with that, or easing a hardship that is happening in their lives. Even if that means going to them, just talking to them, and supporting them emotionally. Bringing that joy to the heart of a believer is among the greatest deeds. Such a beautiful hadith. And it's also quite representative of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is and what He wants for us. Why is it such a noble deed? When the Prophet ﷺ says, among the best deeds, there's a lot of deeds out there we can do. A lot. But among the best is bringing happiness, bringing joy to the heart of a believer. Why is it among the best? Because that is why Allah created us in the first place. When people feel joy and they see that this person is helping them for a theological reason, then the perception becomes this person who is working theologically and using that to make me happy or bring me joy or to help me out or to ease a pain. That means the God that they worship is a merciful God. That's what it means. And that's why it's such a profound deed, because of its implications. It's not just, joy and fun and that's it. No, it's the perceptions that it gives to the people. It is a purpose that is being fulfilled. Imagine everyone wakes up in the morning every day and says, today I'm going to bring a smile to a person's face. Right? Imagine a world like that. That is what Allah intended for us. But He gave us the will to choose to do that or not to do that. Now, obviously, we cannot make everyone happy, but let's look at some examples in our daily lives. And again, this is in no order. Bringing joy to your spouse. Applying this hadith on your spouse. Bringing that smile to your spouse's face. Right? We all know how we can do that. That is a major good deed. That is a profound good deed. It brings you so much reward. And, sometimes it's a lot simpler than what we expect. Maybe what's going through your mind now, man, I gotta buy my wife some jewelry.
No, just do the dishes.
Right? Do the dishes, right? Or, I gotta cook my husband a good meal, something like that. That's great, right? If that brings a smile to their face, great. Remember this hadith. Because look, I hate doing the dishes. Personally, I can't stand it. But you know what? If I remember this hadith and do the dishes and bring joy to my wife's face, happiness to her heart, I'm doing it for the reward. Right? Yeah, now there's more benefit to it than that. But it's a lot more motivating when we think of it from this perspective. This is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it's pleasing my spouse. And I want to recommend one thing. And I always recommend this when people get married, especially the young youth. One of the best ways you could bring happiness to the heart of your spouse is smiling for them. Going home to a wife who is smiling is wallahi, probably the best thing you can have in a marriage. Because that says a lot. My wife is smiling when I come home. That means she's happy to see me. Now, is the guy going to say, man, I'm going to do overtime? Alhamdulillah, I get a time and a half paid as better than going home? And the same thing for the husband. Instead of walking home after a long day of work, I'm tired, and maybe rightfully so. And I'm grumpy, and today was a terrible day at work. Enter with a smile. It makes a big difference. And remember, smiling is sunnah, right? It's sadaqah. Also bringing joy to the hearts of our children. Now, this is more complicated than, dealing with a spouse. Because if you bring too much joy, they become spoiled. Too little, what kind of joy and whatnot? And do I buy them Xboxes, makes them happy and whatnot? It's a lot more complex here. And honestly, this isn't the point of this talk, and I don't want to try and contemplate, but think to yourselves. And remember the theological implications it has. When I am bringing joy to my child, there's studies show that there's a strong correlation between the way a child views their parents and the way they view Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a child has a positive image of their parents, they're more likely to have a positive image of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if they have a negative image of their parents, then they're more likely to have a negative image of Allah. When a child sees their parents as concerned for their joy and their happiness, as striving to put a smile on their face, right? When they feel that. Now, parents naturally do that. But does the child understand that? Now, I know our children today, it's hard to get to their mind. But sometimes saying, I did this so that you can smile. Or I did this because Allah or the Prophet ﷺ tells me to. That makes a difference. That goes a long way. Our children, our youth, in fact, the youth in America in general, are struggling to understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a benevolent, a merciful God, when all of this is going on. Well, when you apply this simple hadith, you show them how. You show them exactly how. When you go to work, have a joke prepared. Not a cheesy joke, because that makes you look silly. Have a joke prepared. Just Google it. You can Google all these jokes. And it goes a long way. Any speaker will utilize this in some sort of function. And before an interfaith event, before some sort of event that's a little bit more formal, or even something like a wedding, I try and start with a joke. It makes a big difference. It really does. SubhanAllah. So when you joke and you make someone laugh at work, Muslim or non, by the way, it does go a long way. It kind of cracks the mood, breaks the ice. Oh, I know that person. I like being around that person because you know what? They make me happy. They bring joy to my heart. This is the embodiment of the prophetic mercy, alayhi salatu wassalam. And I mentioned, al-ibtisama bi wajhi akhiq sadaqa, smiling in the face of your brother or sister is charity. And let's see here what I have. Spiritual mercy. Spiritual mercy. We need to challenge ourselves to be more concerned about the spiritual well-being of our fellow Muslims. How many Muslims live in the southern part of Orange County, who this masjid is the closest masjid to? Let's take Eid Day. Let's say all the Muslims come on Eid. It's probably not, maybe the majority. You have around 4,500, 5,000 people who come on Eid Day here at OCIF. Yeah, how many people come to Isha prayer? No, more than 5, come on. Right? 30. And this is probably the only masjid where more people come to Fajr than the Isha prayer. It's very strange. Right? Fajr 50, on weekends around 70. That's a good number. But when you compare 70 to 5,000, let's say half, because the women are dealing with their kids and whatnot, 70 to 2,500, to 2,000. That should be concerning to us. Not because you are disobeying Allah, how dare you, but because prayer is something extremely important to our success in the next life. The first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges us for, in terms of our religious obligations, is prayer. And the Prophet ﷺ says, if prayer is sound, your prayer is in line, then all your other deeds will be in line. We should be concerned out of mercy for our fellow brothers and sisters who aren't praying 5 times a day, or who are praying 5 times a day but barely come to the masjid. There's a lot they're missing out on. Even if that mercy manifests itself with a simple dua, "Oh Allah, guide these our fellow brothers and sisters. Oh Allah, bestow upon them your mercy." And remember, every time you do that, you have the angel saying Ameen, and for you, similar. The Prophet ﷺ, in the Battle of Tabuk, made an obligation for each companion, each male able-bodied companion, to go with him. And we all know the story of Ka'b ibn Malik and his 2 companions who did not go. They lagged behind and they said, "You know what, it's too late, I'm not going to go. It's a hot summer, I'm comfortable where I am with my spouse in my pool." Literally what he says, "I was in my pool, and I was enjoying the time." Now, it's a long story, I don't have time to go through it. However, at the end of the story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala announces that He accepted their repentance in Surah At-Tawbah itself, towards the end. And in the hadith, which Ka'b bin Malik, the one who this is happening to, in the hadith he's narrating, he said, once I saw the Prophet ﷺ after the news of my Tawbah was accepted, once I saw him, he said he was so happy, he looked like the full moon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who repent. How happy are we when we see someone new in the masjid? How happy are we? When someone becomes a Muslim, we hug, and do we ever ask about them again? Right? And by the way, this is to me first. As the imam of this masjid, this is for me first. But we can always improve. We need to improve. We need to be concerned that these lines, there needs to be more people. Because I want to see my Muslim community, my fellow brothers and sisters, in the highest position they can possibly attain in the next life. And in the bonus, the incentive is that anyone you bring to the masjid, now you're getting the reward of them coming to the masjid. I mean, there's something in it for you as well, to kind of add that motivation, the inspiration. I will conclude with the following. And this is a saying, I believe, that's ascribed to Shaykh al-Sha'rawi, rahmatullah alayh, the late Egyptian mufassir of the Quran. He says that he was debating with an extremist Muslim who was kind of going around saying all these people are kuffar and all these Muslims have apostated and whatnot. And he says something very profound. It's very beautiful. He says that the goal of the shaitan is to take people to hellfire. And that's exactly what you are doing by proclaiming all these people are disbelievers and you want to kill them, and etc. It is the goal of the shaitan for people to enter hellfire. But it is the goal of Allah and the prophets for people to enter paradise. Where do we stand on that? When we look at an enemy or someone we despise, are we looking forward to the day where they're dropped in the hellfire? Or would we rather see that person enter paradise? We are agents of mercy. Our goal is to get people to paradise. We are not agents of the shaitan whose goal is to take people to hellfire. And to add to this, kind of give a little of spices, one story, and I'll conclude with this. Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullah alayh, the renowned scholar, the amazing scholar. One day, he was walking, and a group of people jumped him. They beat him up. So after that, his students went to him. He said, "We're going to go take revenge. We're going to go find those people and take revenge." He said, "No, don't. No, don't." Why not? And another incident. He was in jail. Man, look at this. He was in jail, imprisoned on a false premise. He was imprisoned because he gave a fatwa. Right? He was in prison because he gave a fatwa. Him and his student Ibn Qayyim, when they were in prison, I believe they were in prison, I hope I'm not mistaken. When they were there, they got news. They got word of one of the scholars who actually voted for him to be, or influenced the decision for him to be put in prison, passed away. So Ibn Qayyim was happy. He was like, yes, this person finally, we don't have to deal with him and whatnot. Ibn Taymiyyah, scolded him. He really went hard on him. Look at these two cases. What is Ibn Taymiyyah living by? He's living by the purpose. Our mission, his mission as a scholar, is not to inflict harm on people. It is to bring mercy to them, to bring them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If that is my purpose, then what am I going to gain by beating up these people? What am I going to gain when a fellow Muslim passes away? Absolutely nothing, even if they have inflicted harm on me. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the merciful, which follow the prophetic mercy and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair wa sallallahu alayhi wa Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Just a reminder, inshallah, Thursday is the tafsir series between Maghrib and Isha, so please do join us.